Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Ash to Dusk. All right, you guys, there have been quite a few of you who have messaged me or have talked with me in life to just say, you've got to talk about perimenopause and hormones and your period and all the things. So men who are watching this right now, this may not be the episode for you. Okay. I want to give a warning. And I also want to make sure that I'm saying this. I have no idea where this episode is going to go, you guys. I'm just going to start sharing things that I know or experiencing. But I don't feel super qualified to talk about this, but because enough of you have asked me about it, I'm like, all right, we're just going to give it a whirl and try this out. So I've given everyone their fair share of a warning that this episode may not be for you if you are not a menstruating woman, or someone who has menstruated. Okay, are we good? All right, let's dive in. So I never thought I would be talking about this conversation when I started the podcast, because a lot of what I was thinking about is, we're going to help each other chase after our dreams and take action towards them and walk towards our purpose and motherhood and all those things. But I will say that as you guys have been asking me this, I get it. And I think we should talk about it because it is something, our menstruation, our cycle is something that affects us so much. And it changes. And so the way we show up for our family as a mom, as a wife, that sometimes changes too. And they get a different version of us depending on maybe the time of the month that we're in. So, all right, we're just going to dive in. So, somebody had said, you got to talk about perimenopause and hair loss and weight gain and hot flashes. And here's what I want you to know. I am 36 years old. And I don't know if I would say I'm quite into the perimenopause phase. I feel like my body is shifting towards that. I recently had my appointment with a gynecologist. So ladies, please, if you're not going, you need to make that a regular routine and habit. But I was there for just like my routine exam. And also because I have a small fibroid in my uterus. So we were just checking on that, making sure everything's good there. But she was like, well, how's everything going? And I said, well, I feel like I'm starting to enter back into my teenage years a little bit. I've had a really regular period for a long time. So let me just back up to like teenage years before we move on. My teenage years, you guys, were rough. I mean, from breakouts on my face to my periods would last a full week or more. And I mean like heavy periods, super bad cramps. Like sometimes I would even have to miss school because I just couldn't stand up. The cramps would be so bad. And so one of the things that the gynecologist back then suggested to my mom was to use birth control as a way to help regulate my hormones and to balance things out. And so we did that. I was on birth control from, like 14 and a half, 15 years old, all the way until I was 18. So when I was 18, I was like, I am done with this. I absolutely hate it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. And I just didn't want to be putting things in my body. So as you know, from the hypertension episode, from the flying episode, I've talked about how much I don't really like to take medicine unless if I absolutely have to. And so I definitely have my things with birth control because when I was starting off with it, we tried different things. I had the depot shot for a long time and I gained weight with that. I lost hair, with the depot shot. It was terrible. And then I was on other estrogen pills and, oh, you guys, it was just a train wreck for me, but it did help with my periods a little bit. Now jump forward to when I started having children. When I started having the boys, my periods got very regular. Like it changed for me. Like actually having kids made it better. And ever since then, I was on very regular periods. Now, I also did not understand what a cycle was. I don't think my parents maybe knew as much about it. You didn't really talk about that kind of thing, especially with my grandmas. I mean, oh my gosh, right? It was almost like nobody needs to know that you're on your period. It's, that's a very private, personal thing. And that's how I was kind of raised to be. Now, when you grow up with two other sisters and then your mom, it's like, well, everyone, they would say we're ragging it, right? Everyone's ragging it. And you would know like the trash cans were full, the dog was trying to eat in the out of the bathroom trash cans, and everyone was cranky and grumpy, and I grew up around the idea of your period as something that is like you become this cranky, awful person. You get it every month and then that's it. Like there wasn't education around what is your cycle? What is your body going through? And all that. So anyways, I had very limited information even into my 20s. But when we started having kids, I started to learn and understand a little bit more like, wow, you can actually only get pregnant 3 to 5 days of the month, right? So there's that. And I didn't realize. And that you have different estrogen, progesterone, and these different hormone levels that at different times of your cycle, it makes sense why you crave chocolate, why you crave certain things. It's like your body needs more carbs, or when it's a good time to fast. Like I went down a whole rabbit hole with hormones over the last couple of years. I highly recommend this book by Dr. Mindy Pels, Fast Like a Girl. Definitely check that out. I learned a lot about hormones in that book, and especially like your cycle, because again, I'm not an expert in this, you guys. I've just been learning from books and the internet. So I'm just sharing with you my story because so many of you have asked me about this. Okay, so I haven't been on birth control to regulate anything since I was 18 years old, right? I did natural family planning and all the things. So now, as I'm in my later 30s or heading towards the later end of my 30s, things are shifting a little bit. So my periods for the most part are pretty regular, but every couple of months, it's like they either come a little bit early or a little bit late. Like they're starting to get a little bit of fluctuation, but I'm starting to have terrible cramps again. Not that I've always had them, but like really bad cramps. Like, oh my gosh, it's time to buy a heating pad situation again. Just this last time, like I was in bed for a few hours during a work day, and I haven't had that in a long time. And heavier, like as in like bleeding through tampons heavy. So I said that to my doctor when she was asking, how are things going? And I shared that with her. And she was like, yeah, she was like, we could tell like the lining of your uterus is pretty thick, and that indicates oftentimes heavier bleeding. But you're just getting to that point now where hormones can change. I mean, you have a long ways to go before menopause, but the perimenopause things can start happening at an earlier age. And I'm like, my goodness. But there's no way to really test for it, because you can do blood work and your hormones be at one level, and then the next time you do it, it could be different. So they kind of just go off of like symptoms or things that's going on. So I don't believe I'm in perimenopause yet. I do think that my body there's some changes happening. And one of those being hair thinning. Now, I pulled my hair up for you guys for this episode so that you can see it. Now, I do have a lot of gray hair. So as my hair is growing out, which it is right now, you can see the gray, but you can see like parts of my hair is just thin. You don't often see me wearing my hair up halfway like this anymore, because like you could see like this line here, the back, like it is starting to thin. Which is, it's hard because when your body's changing, where you carry your weight, like for me, it's starting to become more in my midsection, right? And I'm like, no, what's happening? Our bodies change as we get older. Hormones play a huge factor in not only our mood, but where we store our fat and how our body's burning fat. And when you start having hair loss and weight gain, or you can't sleep at night, or you're getting hot flashes, right? Like sweaty and like that odor, and you're like, oh my gosh, I smell gross. Like those things play into your self-confidence and your self-esteem, because you don't want to be the smelly person. You don't want to be the sweaty person. You don't want to be the one who is having bald spots or, hair thinning. And I do think that it definitely plays into our confidence. But I can't encourage you enough to read the book Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz. I've taken away really good information from that, and it has certainly has helped me. But more importantly, the more you get to know about your cycle, whether if you're menstruating now, maybe you're, through menopause on the other side of it. But when you can recognize what phase you're in, it will help you to be a little bit more gentle on yourself, but also to help set up people around you, maybe like your spouse, even your children, that, hey, if I'm a certain way around this day or this time of the month, it's just because my body is going through some changes and some hormone fluctuations. Um, I have more of those conversations with my family now than ever before. My oldest son and I have talked about periods. I mean, they've come home from school and just completely beside themselves when they learn and hear about things at school. And I've realized, man, these conversations need to come from me. And yes, they can learn it at school. That's great. But I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have my mom and my dad they just didn't know themselves. You know what I mean? So it's like they did the best that they could with three girls, but I've had to do a lot of figuring that out on my own. So, I've talked, especially with my oldest, and I've said, hey, if you feel comfortable, if you want to put a tampon or a pad in your book bag, there might be a friend of yours that's a girl that starts her period or bleeds through and needs something, and you could be that friend that has it for her. And of course, I've, let him make that decision if he wants to have one in his book bag or not. I'm not going to force him to do that. It's just, I hope that by teaching him these things, when he gets married in the future, he can show up and be a really good husband for her, because that way he understands, oh my gosh, this is what they go through. Sometimes they might wake up in the middle of the night and they have bled through onto their bed, and like how to not create shame around that, but more of understanding. Or like, hey, Jackson, like if you see me laying down with a heating pad, that just means I really don't feel good and I have cramps. And this is why. It's just educating them. It doesn't need to be like you're only educating girls on this. We need to be educating our sons, so that when they grow up, they understand that, like, no, women aren't just ragging it. They're not just ragging it. They're not just being a bitch. No, like they're going through some major hormonal shifts in their body. And because of that, this is what's happening. And they have to go through it every 4 weeks. That's the thing. You're going through this every 4 weeks. And I used to hate when it was like, oh my gosh, I have a period. I used to wish it away. I wish I don't want to. And I've realized that it actually is a good reminder for me to slow down. So when I know that it's that time of the month is coming, I can maybe plan my schedule a little bit differently. If I can, it doesn't always happen that way. I can maybe buy some chocolate. I don't ever really eat chocolate, but maybe I'll have a little bit in my house during that time. And just to give myself grace, because I know, like, okay, this is normal. And I know that in a couple of days, I'm going to be on the other side of this, and that's great. But during this time period, I'm going to take care of myself and give myself permission to do that. We are meant to just get up and go to work and do all the things, and it doesn't matter how awful those cramps are or what's happening. We just have to do it. But I think it's a good reminder to us that we are beautiful human creatures. We are a vessel that carries life. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a reminder of that every single month, and to take care of ourselves. And so, of course, this conversation really is for any woman who is going through the menstruation process, like, and has that. I recognize that there are many out there who suffer and struggle with getting pregnant because they don't have a regular menstrual cycle. And my heart goes out to you, to everyone who goes through that. But being a woman is badass, you guys. It's badass. It's tough. It's not for the weak. It's not for the faint of heart. But I do think that it can be a very beautiful thing, and we have to embrace it. So when we start losing our hair, when you see a friend or a family member who is gaining weight, or whatever it might be, no, don't judge. Men, if you stuck along in this episode, okay, if you're a man watching this right now, love on your wife, love on your girlfriend, your daughter. Show up with flowers when you know it's the time of the month. Show up with grace, compassion, a hug. Maybe don't say a whole lot, like just if you made it this far, men, I'm talking to you now. But yeah, it's tough. I think most people don't realize this because women were kind of taught to not talk about it, and men never knew that it was okay to ask about it or to care because it didn't really affect them, right? But it does. So, anyways, this is a little bit of a shorter episode. I didn't know where I was going to go with it or what was going to honestly come out. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments or on social media. Send me a message. How is perimenopause affecting you? How did it affect you? What are some things that you wish people knew about it? I would love to hear from you. So, as always, I would love if you haven't had the opportunity yet to like, subscribe to the podcast, share it out to a friend who could use it. Make sure that you send me messages. I read them all. You could call into the hotline. I will keep everything anonymous, but I would love to hear ideas on topics, questions that you have that I can answer. I still can't believe we're going into the holiday season, but they're here. So this is a reminder to take care of yourself during that time. But until we meet again, keep your light burning from ash to dusk.